Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is take two. You're never going to hear take one. Okay. We are live on location, ladies and gentlemen. The future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. And we are on location, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in Massachusetts, in New York State, and we have Miss Cheryl Porter, okay, who is actually the president of AWWA. So hi, Cheryl. Thank you.
Hi, Dave.
Thank you so much. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit how you got involved with AWWA.
Let me tell you, my start actually started with my former CEO. She made it a performance evaluation target for me. She opened up the conversation with, "It's your time to give back."
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what does that mean? And so we sat down and we actually formulated a plan of how I would walk through the section titles and ultimately get on the national board. That was her goal for me.
Okay.
And so when I started the process to get back involved with the section, I disengaged because, you know, Detroit had some issues, and that meant that my volunteering had been pulled back on from the organization. So I was no longer as active with the section as I had started out being. But by the time I came back, a lot of the people that I was active with were in leadership roles. So the person that was the chair of the section board at the time said, "You don't have to do this long route.
Okay.
If your ultimate goal is to be on the national board, if that's what your CEO wants for you, a quicker path is to go out as director at large."
Okay.
And not being confident that, one, I had something to give back, and two, that would work with a room full of people that I didn't think I would know. I went ahead and tried.
Wow. Okay.
And made it to the interview where it ultimately culminated into a speech. It was three of us, and you could not find three women more equally qualified. Wow. So it was a very close race.
Yeah.
And I was not successful the first time out.
Okay.
So I figured I had fulfilled my responsibility. I tried. It wasn't successful, so I was going home happy.
Okay.
But there was a lot of people in the room that felt like I was a great candidate and that I should come back.
Sure.
So the word got back home before I got back home.
Okay.
So I was encouraged by my CEO just to try it one more time.
Okay.
And doing it that time, I was successful.
That's great. Well, it's amazing. You know, obviously AWWA as well as AWWA, we're all volunteer organizations. Okay, and the fact and a lot of organizations, are not as willing to share their employees.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the fact that your organization did that. Okay, is commending them. They're terrific.
They have been a tremendous support. So even though that the CEO who got me started is not the CEO now, the young woman that came in, Suzanne Coffey, afterwards, she was just as supportive, and we followed through on the plan, and the plan worked.
Well, obviously, it worked very well. My gosh, phenomenally. I think from a standpoint of, I was looking, through your resume, you're quite accomplished. Okay, as far as that goes. But putting on your other hat. How did you find your way into the water industry? I mean, education-wise, what was your education path?
I actually graduated from the University of Michigan, go Blue, and I was a chemist.
Okay.
So I actually had a solvents, I was a water quality chemist for a solvents organization. But after working there for about 7 years, it dawned on me that my manager and I were the same age. And so advancement opportunities were just not going to be there for me. So I had to move if I wanted more. Okay. And I had a girlfriend that was working for the city of Detroit at the time, and they had lots of jobs. And the water department at the time was a department of the city. Okay. So she's like, "We've got chemist jobs." So I applied and was successful in getting a junior chemist job. And I'll admit it, the first time After working that job for about 6 months, I was like, I got to get out of here.
Okay.
Because it introduced me to a world that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
We had 24/7 operations.
Right.
And it took me a minute to connect that as a chemist, I'm creating the data that's needed for important decisions to be made in the moment so that we can ensure that the water we were sending out from our facilities met and exceeded the standards. And that water is going to my home, to my family and friends.
Sure.
And when I made that connection, that's when water was no longer just a job. It became my career. It became the place where I wanted to be because it was my opportunity to give back. And we're hidden heroes.
Right. Well, people take for granted, you turn the water faucet on, water comes out.
No thought about where it comes or
exactly.
who's working to get it there.
People have no idea what the backstory is behind that. I keep telling my students so forth, and everybody on the podcast, okay, the water umbrella is just so large.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
You have chemists, you have lab technicians, you have construction people, you have engineers, okay, you have HR people, you have accountants, the list goes on and on. What was the size of the water utility?
Actually, the Great Lakes Water Authority, which is the authority that was created out of the Detroit Water and Sewage Department.
Okay.
We were established about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And we are the regional provider for about 40% of southeastern Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So we have 5 water treatment plants, 3 intakes, 19 booster stations. I have a treatment capacity up to 1.7 billion gallons per day.
Okay.
My smallest plant is 240 million gallons.
Wow.
And the largest is 540.
Wow.
So lots of treatment capacity available to us. We have an excellent source with our intakes. We've got Lake Huron and Lake Erie, where our infrastructure is there.
Right.
And that surface water is, we're starting out with pretty exceptional quality, which is nice.
My son, his wife's in-laws are from Superior, Wisconsin. Is that anywhere near where you guys?
Oh yeah, it's near. It's amazing how we all pick different spots.
Yeah.
Like Chicago, their intakes is on Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And you think me being in Michigan, we'd be on Lake Michigan as well, but we're on the other side.
Okay.
Coming from Lake Huron and flowing down into Lake Erie.
Yeah, because they're close, obviously, right across the way from Duluth and so forth. So and every time we call up there, he says, and you're right in your presentations. I think you said that you get more cold weather than snow up there. And that's again, I think just the fact of climate change, and it's real.
Yeah, it is. I can recall when, because we moved back to Michigan from Nevada. My dad was stationed in Las Vegas, Nevada. He was in the Air Force. And when he retired, we moved back to Michigan because that's where the family was.
Okay.
And I can recall shoveling snow.
Yeah.
And I used to ask my dad, where's the snow blower? He goes, that's what you're here for. And so me and my brothers were shoveling snow, and it was always lots of snow.
Yes.
But as time has gone on, I'm not shoveling snow anymore.
No.
But we do have what I think are extreme cold days.
Yes.
And that wasn't, you had snow, but
well, I mean,
everybody
used to talk about what they call in Buffalo, like the lake effect snow, and so forth. And I mean, you still get that, but it's not as severe as it used to be.
No, it's not. And I will tell you, the way the wind blows, and that can change, the way it currently blows, the lake effect snow is more prevalent on the western side of the state than on the eastern. So usually they get it. Yeah. And then by the time it gets to our side of the state, it's not as much.
It's not as much. Wow, fantastic. If you were going to give advice, we're all experiencing, a severe, as you termed in your presentation, the gray tsunami, or in my case, the bald tsunami, and so forth. I mean, I retired a little over a year and a half ago, and it was 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was enough. But I'm still, doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm an advocate of, succession planning. Refilling the pipeline because we need people in this industry.
Absolutely.
Severely, and. It's not just this. I think the labor market is very tough right now.
Absolutely.
It's very tough.
I think the advantage that we have, and I love when I talk to young professionals, it doesn't matter what you're passionate about. You
Right.
can bring your passion to the water sector.
Oh, sure.
IT, you talked about HR, legal, whatever you're passionate about, you
Absolutely.
can bring that to our service
Absolutely.
sector, and you have a job there,
Yeah.
supporting what we do as a water utility. And I love the fact that you have people who are passionate about what they do, and they're contributing to that bottom line of us being excellent stewards for public health and safety as
Sure.
well as environmental stewards.
Well, and the thing is, they're passionate and they're willing to share that passion.
Absolutely.
I think that's huge. You get to that point where, and like I say, not every student is meant to go to college.
No.
Okay.
No.
And a lot of times I've talked to students, and not that they're brainwashed, but it's kind of impregnated in them that you should go to college.
Yeah.
And so forth. And not everybody's made to.
No, some people are meant to work with their hands, and we can take advantage of that. We have mechanics that we need. We have electricians that we need.
Right.
And we have plumbers. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, you can bring that to our service sector. And
Absolutely.
I love that about us, that we really do have open arms for all these different skill sets. And you're, again, that contribution to helping us protect our community and a resource that we all need.
And the great thing about our industry, it's not something you can outsource.
No.
You gotta have boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
When the
Absolutely.
pipes break, you gotta be able to fix them. When the meters have to be read. And so forth. How have you noticed since you've been in the industry how technology has
I have a
progressed?
great story there. At the Great Lakes Water Authority, when I came in, when I looked at their lab equipment, I was like, oh my God, because it was older than the stuff I saw in school. And I was just like, what is this?
Okay.
So I've watched progress happen in that change in technology. And one of the things that I thought I would be retired before I see was to see us go paperless at our organization. And we just recently released a maintenance management system
Okay.
and deployed tablets to all of our team members.
Okay.
So we are actually paperless now when it
Nice.
comes to our maintenance and operations. And I just never saw that happening
Oh, yeah.
when I walked through the doors initially. And here it is almost 30 years later, and we actually are there.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
And so we have opportunities. We need innovative thinkers to
Right.
be involved in what we do to help us problem solve.
Sure.
Because none of us have enough money for the type of treatment and infrastructure investments we got to make.
I mean, aging infrastructure is I don't think any utility has that. The aging infrastructure is throughout the United States, and it's not only in water, wastewater, but it's roads, it's bridges, it's everything.
Everything.
And the type of thing, we have to get to the point, we have to stop kicking the can down the road.
Absolutely.
Because the can's getting dented.
It's pretty banged up. Yeah.
It's pretty banged up, if you had, advice that you would give a high school senior or college freshman, or what would you say?
I would say that even if you're not sure about what you want to do, getting involved in the water sector, I started out as a chemist in the lab. That's what I thought I was going to do my entire career. But as we face new challenges, and as I saw solutions. I liked
Right.
problem solving, and that's kind of actually what opened the door to leadership for me.
Sure.
And then when you walk through that door, that's a whole different skill set.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things that I love about the water sector is that you're always learning, because there's always some new opportunity or challenge that we're faced with
Right.
that requires you to bring your skills to the table along with the skills of others in order to find real solutions. So if you want a place that is going to constantly challenge you and give you an opportunity to learn as well as give back and to do something that you're passionate about, please come to us
This
in
is
the
the
water
place to
sector.
be.
This is the place to be.
And the pay ain't bad either.
Oh, no, it's pretty good.
You know, and like I say, you know, you get to a situation where, you know, starting salaries and so forth, you're up $25, $30 an hour, you know, in, you know, just.
And we've had to get better about that over time,
Sure.
because
yeah.
our workforce is smaller.
Yeah.
So if we want to attract the talent that we need,
Yeah.
we're going to have to show their value.
Well, exactly, and
So-
you know, to a certain extent, I know I came from a municipality, and you know, unfortunately, the private sector was eating our lunch. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you know, and the kid is going to say, $50 an hour, $25.
I know.
I'm going here. You know, it's like, all right, you know. So, anyway, tell me a little bit about the family. You have kids?
No kids.
Okay.
No.
What hobbies do you have?
I love movies. I love movies.
Okay.
It's like a great escape for me.
Okay.
And I also love music.
Okay.
So-
Well, my alter ego is when I graduated college. You know, I was a music teacher,
Uh-huh.
and you know, and then I told my father, you know, I'm going to go to school for music. And the first thing out of my father said, "What are you going to do for your day job?"
I know.
It's-
My brother had a similar situation. He's an artist.
Yeah.
And great artist.
Yeah.
Public school teacher. And I was helpful in encouraging him to do that because that's where his passion is.
Well, if you're good at it, you're good at
Yeah,
it. You know, and
yeah.
unfortunately, but you know, but needless to say, you know, I got into a situation. I worked through college, through high school. I used to come back and work for the water utility and so forth. And, you know, my wife, you know, we got married. My wife was having our first baby, and so I was working part-time, and I was teaching school, a music teacher at a prep school. And the first selectman that got into office says, "Well, either you're working full-time or no time." And I says, "Well, I think I'll work full-time for a little bit
Full-time,
while."
yeah.
And lo and behold, 50 years later, it's, you know, it was a good ride though.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
but it's one of those things. And, you know, I kept my feet in music. We own a music school,
Yeah.
and so forth. And so I, you know,
Yeah, sometimes you got to do some of your passions in your spare time.
that's whatever. So anyway, so what's on the horizon for AWWA now? I know you talked a little bit. You revised your mission statements a little bit. And,
Yeah. I think one of the things that's most exciting to see, and when I came back to the board and was applying to be president, was that we had opened the door at the board national level for our young professionals,
Oh,
so that
okay.
we can ensure that their voice is at that table.
Nice.
And what started out as a pilot has now shifted over into a director-at-large designated position,
Nice.
so that we can ensure that we have that voice at the table. And I will tell you, the young professionals that were selected to be advisors, they're not shy.
No.
They're not shy at all. They bring their voice to the table. They challenge what we're doing and how we're thinking. And I think it's been great to have that voice at the table.
Sure.
The other thing that I love about it is it gives them an opportunity to see how the sausage is made.
Oh yeah.
What we were considering when we made decisions.
Yeah.
So as we move into the future, they are plugged into, well, you know, this is what they were thinking about because this is what they were faced with at that time, and that influenced how they made that decision. And if they're in the room and they hear that,
Okay.
then when they actually are in the role of taking over for us, beyond us, they have that foundation. They understand why we did what we did,
Nice.
and then they can move that forward. And they can also help shape what we need to be doing now to
Sure.
ensure that we have the water that the future that we want to see for water in the future.
Well, sure.
So,
And also to communicate that mission statement to all the state
Oh, yeah.
sections. you know,
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
you get, and we are kind of in New England, and so we're kind of in a water-rich atmosphere, rather, California, and Texas.
yeah, I'm in
is-
the Great Lakes.
Yeah, we got water.
Yeah, we got water.
we got water. So anyway, okay. Because of my musical background, do you remember the first concert you ever went to?
Yes, it was Janet Jackson.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
yes.
that was my first.
I think
concert.
she's still on tour. My God.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure she is.
Oh my God. So do you have any favorite groups or genres of music? Let's put it that way.
Motown. I
Yeah.
love Motown.
Oh,
I'm
my
in the Motor City, so
Well,
it's,
that's what it's all about.
yeah, Temptations,
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye, the Supremes. You can't get that's classic music that you can listen to today, and still enjoy.
It's got longevity.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
they're definitely not one-hit wonders out there. So and they're still out there. I think.
Yes, they are.
My God, the
Yes, they
Supremes. Oh
are.
my God, Diana Ross. She's still out. My God,
Yeah.
unbelievably, she looks great, and she's got to be 80.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so forth. My God, we should be so lucky to look as good as she does and do
I
the things
know,
that
I
she does
know,
as far as
yeah.
that goes. So anyway, well, thank you so much for taking time.
Absolutely.
Sheriff,
It's a great conversation.
Oh,
Dan.
yeah, it really is. And the fact that, again, spreading our passion and getting out this industry. And, I mean, all the episodes that I've done, I ask people how they got their pass into the water industry. And most of the time it's by happenstance.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad worked for this guy, or my dad worked for this guy, or he knew somebody. Hey, check this out, and so forth. And they got into it. But, we got to start changing that
Absolutely.
persona to say, hey, this is a viable career. It's something that we have to, promote not only in the high schools but in the colleges as far as that
Yeah,
goes. So.
I can't wait to see instead of doctor and lawyer, they'd say water professional. That'd be an ultimate future for us.
For sure. Well, I told you I just finished the book. It's called the Future of the Water and Wastewater Industry and the Careers You Didn't Know About.
Yeah.
And it's going to be out on Amazon. I'll get you a copy.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I'd love that.
And
Thank you.
I'd like you to get it into the AWWA
Oh,
library.
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
We got to go from there, but fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it concludes this episode of the Future of the Water and Wastewater Industry and Careers You Didn't Know About. And with us is the president of AWWA, Ms. Cheryl Porter. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for
Thank
taking
you.
time. Bye-bye now. And that is all.